and she's going to go ahead and give you guys some information, her background information about what she does and how she became vegan. And then she's going to show you some acro gymnastics tricks. And then if you guys have questions, she's here for questions and answers at the end. Ready? All right.
Hello, my name is Eshiana, and I'm an 11-year-old USA National Gymnastics team member. Thank you all for being here, and I'm really excited to share my journey with y'all. I became vegetarian when I was around 5 years old because I learned about what I was eating and that the meat I was eating was actual animals, and I didn't want to cause any harm or suffering to them. I maintained a vegetarian diet until I was around 8 years old when I realized the harmfulness the dairy and egg industry did to the animals, even though it wasn't directly the animal itself. When I was vegan, at first I thought it was all about food and what you ate, but then I quickly realized it was more about the lifestyle itself and what I was wearing, what I was putting on my face, and what I was washing my body with. So at first it was really overwhelming because everything that I had seemed like it wasn't vegan, and it seemed like everything had some sort of animal product in it, so I'd have to check everything over and over and try to find vegan brands, and at first that was really hard. But as you keep going, you start to learn your favorite vegan brands and stuff that typically is and isn't vegan, and it gets really easy as you go along. So one of the common misconceptions is athletes can't be vegan because they don't get enough protein and they'll be weak and tired and they can't do any physical activity. But that is actually a theory that has been proven false a long time ago. It has been proven that meat protein and animal protein are very different types of protein. And while animals do have protein, let's say from a cow, the cow got its protein from the plants that it was eating. So plants is the original source of protein for anything. So we are meant to get our protein from plants. And it has also been proven that if you eat a meat-based, animal-based protein meal before you train, your ability to withstand physical activity for long periods of time is severely decreased as to if you were to eat a plant-based meal right before you were going to train. And it is also true that you have more mental clarity if you eat plant-based protein as opposed to animal-based protein. Because when you're eating animals, you are taking in the fear and suffering and all the bad energy from when it was cooped up or right when it was about to be killed. And you're putting that into your brain, and you get really anxious and stressed out, and your brain gets foggy, and you aren't able to think about what you're doing. So I believe that athletes can really, really benefit from a plant-based diet, and it is really beneficial. If you're an athlete, you might want to start thinking about going plant-based because it has been proven that it really, really does help. A lot of people ask me if it has helped me personally, and I was vegan since I started my gymnastics career, so I couldn't really say from that point. But I do know that after only 2 years of being on the gymnastics team, I was recruited to join USA National Gymnastics team. And in my sport, that is considered a very fast progression. And it usually takes a lot longer to do that. And I attribute that to my plant-based diet and my positive outlook that it's given me. And actually, next weekend, I will be going to Phoenix, Arizona for the national team training camp with the USA National Gymnastics team. And I will be there for a couple of days traveling with them. And then in January, I will be in England for a competition for the British International Acro Cup to be competing against a bunch of different countries. And it will be my first international competition. And that's all I have to say. I'm going to do some acro tricks now, and then we'll take questions at the end.
Didn't you win you won the national competition recently?
In July.
In July. And that's for acro?
Yeah.
I have a question. How do you deal with people your age who have negative attitudes about you eating plant-based and vegan?
So at school, a lot of people ask me like, well, how are you an athlete if you don't eat meat? Where do you get your protein? And I usually kind of explain it the same way I did here. And usually they're a lot more open-minded to it then. And I actually have gotten some of my friends to go vegetarian at school. So.
What school do you go to?
I just transferred to Renaissance Academy at Masson in San Jose, but originally I was at Parkview Elementary in Oak Grove School District.
So you're part of the Olympian training camp?
Kind of. So acrobatic gymnastics isn't actually a sport in the Olympics yet, because acrobatic gymnastics is a combination of gymnastics, dance, and partner skills. And so it's fairly new, so it isn't in the Olympics yet, but they have this thing called Worlds, and it's kind of like the Olympics for that sport. And that's what we're training to go to this year. I think it'll be held in Switzerland or Belgium. And it's all of the countries come together and compete, and then you represent your country. So.
How did you pick this to do for fun? Did you know somebody who was doing it? Or?
So my mom, before I started, wanted me to get into a sport because I didn't do anything, and she's like, you need to do something. So I didn't want to do any sports. Like, she asked me like softball or basketball or tennis or anything, and I just wasn't interested. But then she asked gymnastics, and I didn't really want to do it, but I'm like, okay, it's the best one, so I chose that.
Do you like to cook?
Yeah. I make a lot of stuff at home, and I like to bake. We make these vegan brownies all the time, and I make them mostly by myself, so.
How many competitions have you won?
So over 2 years, I've won from both of the years the state championships, regional championships, national championships, both of the Vegas Acro Cups, and both of the Silicon Valley Classics.
Wow. Any other competitions or contests?
I've won PETA's Cutest Vegan Kid of 2019. And I think that's it.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
What do you like to do on your free time? You always do acro gymnastics?
No, in my free time, I like to draw and I like to read and write. So those are my main hobbies.
Do you have pets?
I have one Yorkie. Her name is Roxy.
Do you have trouble balancing all your activities? You're very good at physical balance.
Sometimes it's kind of a tight schedule because I have to give up some social activities or school events, but I've balanced it pretty well. I just come home from school and then I eat dinner, change, and then go to gymnastics. And by the time I'm out of gymnastics, it's 9:30. So then I go to sleep, and that's usually what I do. So.
How often do you have gymnastics practice?
I do 5 days a week, but with choreography season, because it's coming up, competition season is coming up, so you have to get your choreography. Sometimes it can be 7 days a week. they said we're training to go to Worlds to represent USA, so we have to try out first. And then we're going to have a lot of international competitions and training camps and stuff like that. So the goal this season is to train for Worlds and get used to competing like internationally.
What countries have you been to yet?
For gymnastics.
Yeah, for anything.
Oh, I've never gone out of the country, so
Have a passport yet?
we just got our passports. Yeah. The furthest away, or the 3 furthest away places we've been for gymnastics are Vegas, North Carolina, and Iowa. So,
What do you want to do academically when you grow older?
I'd like to be an author, because I like writing and writing stories and expressing myself through words. And I'd also like to be some sort of speaker or something along those lines, activist.
Well, it's very nice to see a young person such as yourself being so energized and active. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Inspiring.
Is that all? Thank you guys for coming. I hope you enjoy.
Yes.
Thank you.